Good morning and welcome to Craner's Corner with a daily technical update. It is Thursday, the 13th. It's a little bit late this morning. I had some arrangements to take care of. But today in this educational video, as usual, there's no advice or recommendation whatsoever intended. It is purely educational, and today we'll start with Novo Nordisk, which has been sold off the past week. It started actually last week, and it took it below 550 and touched the 500 level. And we can see here, if you've been following me for quite some time, or at least this past 6 months or so, I've been talking about this shoulder-like pattern here, and it reached the target and then some. It actually dipped lower, and if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 500, then we could see the 487 also be taken out, and we are looking at levels around 430, 431. An indication of that bearish scenario to play out would be that if RSI on the weekly closes below its rising trend line there. What is also a little bit worrying as a Novo Nordisk investor, if you're that, is that there's been actually quite big volume in the selling pressure here. So we could push lower. There's a divergence here, but if it takes out the rising trend line, well, then it doesn't look too good for the bounce potential in Novo Nordisk. It needs to get back above 550 at least to get into a little bit of neutral ground. Apple was one of the only ones in the big caps in US, or at least the Max 7, that was bearish yesterday. It dropped 1.7% further below 219 support. Could test the 213, 214 support, and we can see there's actually room medium term down to around 200 level where we have some strong support. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but it is in jeopardy. It's very close to be taken out and reversed. And finally, on Tesla that has lost about 50% or so since its peak in December last year, bounced a bit yesterday, about 8% almost, back above the previous supports here, and now resistance 239. We could see actually a bounce, maybe trying to get back up to the 269, maybe even up to the 200 moving average, which is around 282 at the moment. But we are in a bearish trend, and we can see here on the weekly how important is, let's just get rid of this one, it's just a measure, how important is 212, 214, 13 level. This is really, really important. If it can't get back above 270, well, then we could see another go at that support area right there. Let's move on to S&P 500 that closed up about 0.5% yesterday, but still in a bearish trend. And you can see that it's broken below key supports here at 5,666. We are in this kind of no man's land at the moment, where there's a bit of way down to the next support, which is at 5,400. So there is actually risk down there. We have negative sentiment on the RSI, so there is potential down there. I'm not saying we are going down there. Here pre-market we are about 0.35% lower, so the selling pressure is still in the cards, and excuse me, it needs to get back above 5,652. Then maybe we could see a push up towards the 200 moving average, but it looks fairly heavy at the moment. Also Nasdaq 100 here pre-market about 0.5% indicated lower, so it will still be in this region here around 19,500. If it takes out 19,180, the lows here from a couple of days ago, well, then we could see another selling pressure hitting the index down to around 18,500. But I mean, it should be a bottom reversal pattern that could give a little bit of a relief rally, maybe up to 20,000, maybe up to 200 moving average. On the Dow Jones index, closed lower yesterday, and the second day in a row closed below support here at 41,563. Is in a bearish trend, negative sentiment indicated to point lower. It really needs to get back up for 42,000 to maybe trying to establish a counter trend, but for now it also looks quite heavy. EuroStoxx50, I adjusted the support a little bit because it was actually placed incorrectly here. It's on the close here and the little spike up there. So around 5,285, and the RSI testing the 40 threshold did it here a couple of days ago. If it closes below, well, then we could see lower levels on the EuroStoxx50. Otherwise, then it could bounce off. But that is a key support area. And on the DAX index, which is currently about 0.5% lower, below the rising trend line, there was divergence on the RSI indicating uptrend exhaustion. If it takes out into 2,148, then has closed this gap here for good. And then I think we will see a push down to test the lower rising trend line. But we also have the 55 moving average coming up. But for now, it's still holding on by its teeth. Euro dollar is in correction phase after spiking just above 109.35 resistance. I think we could see it sliding lower to 108, maybe down to 107.25, which is the 38.2 retracement of this leg up there, and the 200 moving average. If it takes out the peak here a couple of days ago at 109.50, then we could see a push up above 110. Sterling dollar slowly crawling higher, but it's not very convincing. But there is room up to around 130.5, and then I think we could see a correction. Could hit a correction before then, down to around 128. Euro sterling formed yesterday a bearish engulfing candle, where it's engulfed the previous day's body candle. That is a bit of a negative sign. What is pointing in the other direction, though, is that the RSI is above 60 threshold, no divergence, indicating higher levels. So maybe it won't be that strong, really. So let's see if it starts sliding back below the 200 moving average. Maybe the 83.5 could come under pressure, but it also needs to get it back above 84.65 to really establish a bullish trend. Dollar yen still holding on above 147.20. It did dip below a couple of times, but it didn't close below. So we still are above this support level. But as we talked about so many times, we are in a bearish trend, also medium term on the weekly. So we should see dollar yen pushing lower. However, if it takes out the peak there from yesterday at 149.20, then we could maybe see the upper rising trend line being tested and the 21 moving average, and maybe even spiking up to the 38.2 retracement, 151.25. But it is not really in the cards, but we shouldn't rule it out, though. The euro yen formed, after it actually broke above and closed above 161.20 and kind of established a bullish trend, but it wasn't confirmed by RSI closing above 60 threshold. You see it's being rejected several times here now, and now yesterday it formed a doji and maybe a bearish candle today, so that's a top of reversal. So a false break, and we could see it resuming downtrend this euro yen. If it takes out the lows here from a couple of days at 158.89, well, then downtrend has resumed. Aussie yen, is it a little double bottom? It will be confirmed if it closes above 94.75, and then there's potential up to around 97 area. Otherwise, we could see another go at the support down here at 91.79 area. If it takes out that, well, then we're looking at levels below 91. Sterling yen yesterday almost touched the resistance there at 193.20, but before sending back. So we are still in a bearish trend, a negative sentiment, and that bearish trend will be confirmed if it takes out these lows here and the lower rising trend line, and especially if taking out 188. On Aussie dollar, well, basically trading sideways. It needs to close above 63.65 here and above the 100 moving average to establish a bullish trend, and it still could be a struggle up to 64. If it takes out the lows here at 61.85, well, then we could see Aussie dollar resuming downtrend. Dollar Canada. didn't get up to further confirm its bullish trend. It's trading volatile at the moment. And here, so we are still in a positive sentiment, but it really needs to get back above 145.85 to really push higher towards 147.5, maybe even higher. But for now, keep an eye on these two levels here to downside 142.34. If it takes out that, well, then we could see further lower levels there. Sterling Canada, I believe we are in a correction phase. Should see a correction down to 185, maybe even 183.35, which is the support and the 38.2 area, retracement area. It seems to be long its choose. I mean, trend exhaustion with negative sentiment. No, not negative sentiment, still positive sentiment, but bearish divergence here on the RSI. Euro Swiss, a little bit frustrating. I mean, we had a new higher high, so we are technically in a bullish trend, but the RSI didn't really confirm it. If it takes out the peaks here from the past couple of days at 96.5, well, then I think we will see a push up towards 97, 97.5. Otherwise, we could slide back to the 95 area down here. Dollar Swiss dancing around the 200 moving average, just above key support area here, and I think I will remove this one. This one is obsolete, but just around 87.65. If it takes out the lows here from a couple of days ago, well, then I think we will see it pushing below 87. Otherwise, there should be a correction in the card up to around 89, 89.30, maybe even. Dollar index more or less similar to that. 103.28 support, dipped below a little bit. If it takes out that low here at 103.20, well, then we're looking at levels around 102 and possibly lower. But there should be a correction possibility up to the 38.2 at 104.88. Gold, well, gold took out 29.30 yesterday. Dipped a little bit below here, but it took out 29.30. Been in positive sentiment all the time. Back above 60 threshold, further confirming that. If it can close above the upper falling trend line, then I think we will have 3,000 in sight in a few days or maybe a week or two. On the silver, well, bullish trend, positive sentiment should give room up to around 34. The copper crawling higher, touched 490, then setting back a little bit. We are still in a bullish trend, a positive sentiment, and we are above the falling trend line there. And looking at the weekly, we can see, well, we are still pushing higher, and I think we will see higher levels above 5 and 525. On the energy side, well, WTI crude oil is 68.42. If we can get back above that, well, then there should be potential up to 70, maybe even 71 and a change, where we have the 38.2 retracement. However, we are in a bearish trend, but we are also in strong support areas down here on the weekly. So unless it takes out $65, then I think we'll see a bounce in the next few days. On the Brent crude oil has bounced a little bit more. Not much, but could get up to the 72, maybe up to 73, 78. And if we measure from the entire downtrend there, well, it's around 73.80. We should see a bounce up to around that level at least. The EuroGas, and let's just get it on here on the daily chart. Well, we have 61.8 retracement again being tested. If I can take out the peak of the candidate 43.68, then we could see a push up to 45 at least, and maybe up to 47. On the US nat gas, well, the shooting star candle here did really tell us a story. Say it couldn't hold on, and then sellers then just to control. Now it seems that we could bounce a bit to maybe 450. 445, 450, but if it takes out the 3.99, then we could see it at 3.75. US 10-year Treasury yields, there we are. US 10-year Treasury yields trying to get back up to the 440, 445, just below the cloud and the 100 moving average, but it won't be without struggling. If it takes out the candle there at 415, then we could see a pressure to take out the 410 again. The 2-year more or less dancing sideways between 384 and 4%. I will remove this one because it's not really that one. And 4%, we should see a bounce up to 405, maybe higher. But if it takes out 384, well, then we are looking at lower levels at around 370 possibly. And the European yields, well, European yields a little bit higher today compared to yesterday, but it seems like it can't get up to 3%, which we should not be sorry about. I think we will see a slide back here and then maybe have another go where it goes to. It's of course hard to say, but for now we are in a bullish trend. There's no divergence indicating we could see higher levels after a possible correction. The UK 10-year crawling higher, and if it takes out the top of that candle there at 480, well, then expect 490, maybe even 495 to be reached. And Bitcoin, well, unchanged from yesterday. We're still in this bouncing mode here. If it takes out the low here from a couple of days ago at 76,555. Well, then we are looking at the 73,300 support area. Ethereum, well, didn't get there. There we are. Ethereum, well, 1755. If it takes out that, then we're looking at levels around 1500. It really needs to get back above 2100 to establish a bullish trend. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.